Can we talk about baby steps? You know, baby steps is one of my favorite concepts in understanding human behavior. In fact, at Stanford University, I ran a whole conference on baby steps that my lab sponsored. Now, what I learned is that baby steps kind of has a bad brand. It has a bad brand problem. Some people trivialize baby steps. Why? I don't know. Maybe because it has the word baby in it. Maybe because there's an awesome movie called What About Bob that focuses on baby steps and a little craziness there. That's too bad, because I think baby steps are a powerful way to change human behavior. And I'm going to show you how baby steps map out on the Fogg Behavior Model so you can see why baby steps works. So let's take the example. Let's say I have a neighbor who needs to be more physically active, and the doctor really wants her to walk 30 or 40 minutes a day. But asking her to do that places her, wow, it's hard to do, and she's afraid. So she might be right here. Motivation, the fear is depressing her motivation. If she were super hopeful, it'd be pushing it up, but she might be afraid of looking stupid, or she might hurt herself. She doesn't know what she's doing, and it sounds really hard to do. So when triggered, she's right here. So what, in a context like that, where the ultimate target behavior is too hard to do, baby steps to the rescue. And let me show you how baby steps maps in the Fogg Behavior Model. If my neighbor really needs to walk for an hour a day, that's probably the wrong place to start her, because it's hard to do and her motivation has to be really high. She's going to have fear around that, and so the fear is depressing, the hope is the motivator. They're like vectors pushing on each other. A better approach for something that seems hard to do and requires lots of motivation would be start her out with something very simple. Baby steps. Here we go. So let's say we start her out at 5 minutes a day. She walks 5 minutes, pretty easy to do, not so fearful, there's some hope. So she's over the action line. When triggered, she walks. On day 2, the next day, walking 5 minutes, is it easier or harder for her to do than day 1? Absolutely easier to do. She knows where to walk, she knows what to wear, she's kind of gone through the initial thing. Is she more or less motivated on day 2? I would say she's more motivated, because the fear and anxiety she might have had around it is reducing. So let's say day 2 she's here. Day 3, same process, a little bit easier to do, a little bit of lift in motivation. Day 4, same sort of thing. And here's what happens in baby steps. At some point, as she's feeling more motivated and the behavior becomes easier, you ratchet it up to something bigger, 10 minutes. Harder to do. Let's say the motivation level is about the same, but it's not so hard that it falls below the action line. Day 2 in 10 minutes, easier to do. She's feeling successful. Feeling successful as you take these steps is an important part of baby steps, and so on. And this isn't the exact number of times you would have at each level, but conceptually, I hope you can see what's happening. As people do a behavior, it tends to become easier to do for a number of reasons. And as people do behaviors, the motivation for doing it can naturally rise. Notice there's not an external factor that's amping up motivation. The fact that she's feeling successful helps increase the overall levels of motivation. Then at some point, we'll ratchet it up to 20 minutes. And so on. And then at some point, we ratchet it up to 30 minutes and ultimately the target behavior. So this is how baby steps works. You ratchet up little by little. You don't ratchet up so hard that it ends up being below the action line. If so, it's too big a step. It wasn't a baby step. Again, baby steps is a way to think about behavior change in terms of sequences, and it's a way that you break the behavior down to something very simple, and over time, you grow it bigger.